Teenage
Somewhere,
Review.
yeah, somewhere in there we go.
Adam and Joe on XFM. Joe, have you had any more good little things through?
But we've got,
Hey everyone,
we're being inundated with them now. These ideas for
I'm
this comic
live.
strips, and frankly, I'm
A
having
little
trouble,
early though.
reading
I'm
them
gonna
all
go
the
open the
time.
window.
But we've got Fruits Maneuver. Could be a good one about a guy that runs a fruit stall and shifts fruit a lot. Don't know where the sort of Roots Maneuver aspect of that would come in.
Well, he does it in the Brixton Market.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if
Is
this
that
is
it?
a
That's
stream
it.
or the web.
Okay.
He's a
The
black
web,
guy, and there's a lot of them in Brixton.
Hey, entire
Bray
export,
team.
how's it
That's not very
going?
good, is it? What's that?
The Vicar of Bray team.
Hey
It's
Kuju,
like the A team, but the Vicar
welcome
of Bray
to
team.
the
That is
Thanksgiving
that's dreadful.
special. What's up,
Mind that,
Rudy?
Matt
Thank
Craig
you to
Green.
the
I
for
thought
coming
that was
to
good.
the
Adam
Hey Nuclear
hates it.
Glue. Thanks
That
for
is-
coming
that is
to
shocking.
Celine
the
Dion?
Thanksgiving special.
What?
That's what I was trying to
What
get
about
to.
Celine Dion?
Jesus.
Third
Rubbish.
annual
You can't
Thanksgiving
say
special.
Lights.
What's up, Nick? Happy Thanksgiving
Well,
to
give
you
me some
too,
of yours
man.
again. Repeat
I
some
think
of
it'll be a
yours.
good
Why don't
one.
you just have
Benaline, historical
Jonathan, what
hiker.
was your
Thanks for
David
that
Cross
shout out on
again, Adam?
Instagram too. That was really awesome.
All right, that wasn't the best.
Let
Okay,
me
well, you know,
figure-
don't throw
It's always
stones
hard
when
to,
you're living in a
get
greenhouse or
started.
whatever
It was
it is.
better than
Figure out what's
Celine
best,
Dion.
take my glasses
Mine was
off, and
David
I have a
Blunkett.
really
He can
bad
build a
habit.
career and then junk it.
I watch
It's
people who
topical.
watch my live
It's
streams
topical.
before
Right.
probably
You
see me
want
do
is
this.
a
I
taste of
watch
your own
myself.
medicine.
Go on, give me one then.
I'm constantly
That's
watching myself, and it
dreadful.
makes
You're
me
awful. That's rubbish.
gives me motion
Boom.
sickness.
Record.
It's really super weird.
That's the taste of
So let
your
me figure out a
medicine.
figure out a
Sorry,
way
you
to
can't just
block
carry on
my
like that. Is that your
face
impression of me?
Yes.
so
That
that
was
doesn't
pathetic.
happen.
See?
But I
And
still want to see your
also-
awesome
it's
comments.
totally untrue. Just
Here.
because
I mean, I
score
pull
on
up,
Celine
and all
Dion.
of my images are really
Are you
disturbing,
telling me that
sad
you think
stuff.
Celine
Like,
Dion is
We've
good?
got
Yes, I
quite
should-
a lot
here's
of
a cute
political
one.
ones.
He's
Here's
just
a- you
got
guys
a lot
can't
of
see it, but it's a little
private
Thanksgiving
If I'm not
cat.
here. Blair Devil.
As,
Like
as
Daredevil,
opposed
but
to the
Tony
news
Blair.
report on all
And
those
he's the
children
devil.
dying in the
Yes.
fire.
We've got
Hey,
one, but someone
Cantillions,
who
hey
sent
Joe
in
Logan.
President Blair,
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I just did
his
it.
Smile shows
I
he
just,
cares.
Trimmed it up in my
Brilliant.
bathroom.
How about
Get
this?
this Thanksgiving
President
cat
Bush,
here.
his promises go.
So yeah,
whoosh.
I'm so glad that
basically,
you
we're
guys
still
are able
working
to
on it. I
join
think
us
the
for
next
this
time we speak,
Thanksgiving,
we'll have decided
third
who the winner
annual
is of this extraordinary
Thanksgiving
box of,
special.
of prizes.
I tell you what,
I'm impressed,
One other
not
thing
so
that
much by
people could
myself, but
possibly
by you guys
suggest
for
us,
sticking
which
around.
might entitle
Yeah,
them to some
historical
prizes,
hiker, my
are
picture
some
file. You know, it's not
that can be
too
read out
bad.
in the style of a grumpy
Hey,
old
Helena.
man or woman,
My
as complaints.
picture
you know
file's
what I mean?
not too
For
bad. It
example,
is
Sign
we'll
of the
hit
Times,
the
I was
occasional
listening to
weird
the
thing.
other day,
Oh, you know, that's
and it
perfect,
occurred to
actually.
me
That's
that
a
it
good
just sounds
segue.
like the words of a
Because
very
I did
grumpy
want to
old
talk
man.
about this. I got a couple things
This
I
is by
want to talk
Prince I'm
about.
talking about. In France, a skinny man died
What
of a big
episode
disease
was
with a
that?
little
So,
name. By
this
chance, his
week-
girlfriend came across a needle, and so she
I think it was
decided
Monday's
that
episode. Happy
117-year-old
Thanksgiving, Johnny.
boys,
Happy
their
Thanksgiving.
idea of fun is being in a gang called the Disciples.
Rudy
high on
Jazz
crack
was
and
there,
carrying a machine gun.
and,
Hurricane Ellie ripped the ceiling off a church.
that's an
killed
interesting
everyone
question,
inside.
SK.
Turned on
We'll
the
take a
telly,
look at that.
every other story
Rudy
telling you
Jazz was
somebody
there,
died.
and Nick
Sister
Buston and
killed
his
her baby
wife,
'cause she couldn't afford to feed it,
and
yet they sent
one
people
other
to the
person
moon. In
was
September,
there
my
on
cousin
Hey
tried
Vexy.
reefer for the very
Hey,
first time.
an idea,
Now
guy.
he's
Thanks for
doing
joining
horse.
us.
He's
So Monday's
June.
episode was cut short. Let me
Get the
cut to the
idea?
chase here. Monday's
That is, it's
episode,
just a moan, isn't it?
I'm sure a lot of you
it's
guys
a
probably
moaning
picked up on
prince.
it,
It's the
was
moan of an
only
old man. If you've got
18
any
minutes
similar
long,
lyrical
or
moans that
20
you
minutes
could
longer,
suggest,
something
then
really,
do send
really
it to us,
small.
Adam and Joe at XFM.
And the reason why was that
.co.uk.
Monday's episode? Let me
Is that
double
correct?
check
I
here.
believe so.
There you go.
I
we'll be back
cut
after this.
out 18 minutes of that. It wasn't Monday's episode. It was, I think it was the previous week.
It's hard to
Anyways,
resist
the
saying
point
something about
is,
that
oh,
every
it
time
was
you mention
episode 7.
You know, I was reading
Episode
my text, so I wasn't paying attention.
774.
That makes a change.
Episode
And that was
774.
Athlete with wires.
I'm glad.
This
I'm
is
glad that
Adam
worked
Joe
out for you.
XFM. So what have you been
Awesome. Hey,
reading then,
thank you
Joe?
so much
Well,
for the
the
donation,
Grumpy Song
Fenaline.
lyric seems to be
Ben
taking off.
Lin-
We've got a lot of suggestions for songs that, even though they
Ben-
sound very rocky, when read out in the voice of an old man, would
Benny
just sound like
La
an
Lane.
old moaning man.
La
I can't get
Lanine.
no satisfaction by the Rolling
Because of that
Stones would be a
donation,
good
we'll
one.
make sure we
I
get you
can't
the
stand
shout out,
losing
get you in the
anybody. I'm
Carpenter Copter
thinking
for an
maybe
episode.
episodes
Really
I can do one
appreciate you.
Yeah.
Cantillions, I
So
do
we'll
have
save
a
them up.
P.O.
You've
box.
got a
It
good one,
is
a good Marvin
in the
Gaye
show
one, don't you?
notes.
Well, Mercy
It's
Me
P.O.
by Marvin
Box
Gaye. I
1363,
once did, for a radio one
Hood
pilot
River,
that we did.
Oregon 97031.
Yeah,
But it's also in the
Good
show
times
notes, so I do have a
as
P.O. box.
two old ladies
I
at a bus
edited
stop.
out an 18-minute
It fitted very
segment.
well.
So on Mondays,
But we should probably
on Sunday
close our
mornings, the
massive box of
Patreon,
stuff
we have the
competition.
Patreon
We've
Discord.
been
We do a
asking you
live
to suggest
recording
a
of an
name for a New Biz
episode,
comic strip.
and I
Not that
recorded
there's
this
listen or do
18-minute long
anything with it.
segment, and it was funny,
and
it was
well,
it
I
was
think the best one
complete,
we've
and
had
it
so
was
far is
finished.
Pete and his dragon,
And as I
which
was,
we
it was
just turned to Pete's
about
Dragon, Pete Doherty
it was
suddenly
about a
ran with
really
Peter St.
weird.
Mark.
a really weird fake incest porn video, but it may have been real. And it was so gross. Like, I mean, it went on for way too long. And like Rudy has pointed out, I reenacted some of the noises that were being made, and it was funny, but it was too gross. Like by the time you got to the 8-minute mark, you're like, because it was this weird like creepypasta turned lost media. Like newspapers are writing articles about whether or not this video actually existed. It was a big story, so I just didn't feel like it was right for that episode. This happens from time to time. It doesn't happen as much as it used to, but I will record another. Yes, Joe, you did miss those noises. I will record.
Doesn't rhyme.
I think I'm going to add that into a bonus episode. When I do a bonus episode and I say repeat that one, which will probably happen sooner rather than later, I'll add it in. Just something about it, like before I started, because I'd done all the research,
congratulations,
and it was about this. I'm not going to go into detail, just compounding the problem, but I did a bunch of research, and as I started to record it, I was getting my mic ready. I thought, this probably isn't a good way to start a Monday episode.
A really heartwarming
but I did it anyways. I did it anyways, and then I was editing it. The Patreon people who were listening, they liked it. They were also grossed out.
Do you want to hear a heartwarming story before?
But then I was editing it, and I was like halfway through editing it. That segment, just that 18-minute long segment, because 18 minutes takes you like a half hour to edit.
And I asked for plum sauce instead of
I go, I don't want to release this. It's just too gross. It was too gross. So I will release because it's good, but it sometimes you just got. And it's so funny because
I got this kind of more.
Well, Nick goes. So Castrate Punk. You're right. Castrate Punk was a super disgusting episode. I've talked a lot about like cannibalism, pooping each other out. That was pretty gross. This felt different. Like at least with Castrate Punk, it was a super bizarre subculture that no one really knew about. This felt a little different, I think, because it was leaning so much into like the porn angle, like Castrate Punk, which I know people wish that episode didn't exist either, but that episode felt less exploitive, I guess. It felt more like, whoa, like this is actually going. I don't know, but I made that call. I will release it, but it's funny because I knew that week I was going to do that episode about Arthur Stillwell and Robert Downey Jr. and listening to your guts and hearing voices and stuff like that. Hey, Sephora, Ari, happy Thanksgiving. And thank you for stopping by too, T-Mad and Why Do Countries Exist. Hey, T-Mad, you're back. I haven't seen you in a while.
Did you say? Well, the meal's gone cold now.
Yeah, I just edited it. Yeah, like I had to listen to my gut, and I knew I was going to do an episode about Arthur Stillwell later in the week.
I didn't say any of that. I was overwhelmed. I didn't know what to say because
I just need to listen to my gut. For whatever reason, my gut's telling me not to release this creepypasta lost media incest segment, which is weird because so only 3 people of 4 people have heard it, and it has become its own lost media. But I will include it in a bonus episode pretty soon. Yeah, Castrate Punk. It's so funny because for me, I didn't think that was so gross. No, I mean like visually, but I guess it's because I was looking at the photos and that was gross. So when I was describing the photos, it didn't seem that bad. But if you hadn't seen the photos, if you did not know that segment of that segment of society existed, then yeah, it was like super shocking. Castrate Punk 27.7. Joe, it's so funny. Joe said that they listened to the Johnny. Thank you so much for the donation. I'm going to get your name down and we'll get you in an episode flying around in the Carpenter Copter. Really appreciate that donation, guys.
In my mind, anyway.
I started just at 10 Harbinger, so yeah, it's only been a couple minutes, really. That's so funny. T-Man was captain for one of the gross episodes. There have been times where I've really debated, like, do I need a captain? I think there was a recent episode where I was like, no one's the captain. I forgot what episode that was. Sometimes if I do episodes that are kind of off-brand, Cantillions, thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it. Get you back into the Carpenter Copter as well.
I think it's
that is amazing donation, guys. Really appreciate it. No, you're not late at all, Harbinger. And thanks for stopping by.
Too, Adam.
One guy posted. So here's the thing. On YouTube, I'll get like hate comments. People are like, "Oh, dude, you totally suck." Blah 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 blah. That's fine, whatever, right? But I just ignore those. And then there are the ones that are they're insulting and they make me laugh. And this guy, I don't remember his name, but I laughed so hard at it. He said, going to what
this must be the place Naive Melody.
Joe Logan was just saying that he was listening to the episode about cannibalism and pooping out, and he goes, "You legit made me lose my appetite. I couldn't finish my meal. You corporaphilic freak."
And friendly.
And I laughed so hard. Like, that's the worst thing you can do is tell me that I ruined your meal. Tell me that you're like, "I can't even watch this show anymore." Blah 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 blah. Like, that's just gonna make me laugh. An idea guy, thank you so much for that donation. An idea guy, this is great, guys. Thank you.
An Elvis Christmas compilation full of Elvis Christmas songs. It's called Elvis.
Sorry, I'm writing that down. That question.
So everyone who gets on air wins one of those. It's 0871 222 1049.
You know, it's mental illness is such. It is such an interesting part of the paranormal world. It has to be included in that. It was a pretty good insult to Quintillions. It has to be, like, if you're a rocket scientist and maybe you're like a little bit crazy because that's all you do is rocket science and stuff like that, it kind of plays a part. But like I guess in some people, when you're like at a certain high level of academics, you're probably a little weird because that's all you do is read American history from like 1776. So like 1955, you're like, I don't read anything else. But we all see it. The combination of mental illness and the paranormal community, and that's kind of what an idea guy is talking about. And it's interesting, like, does one, if you have a mental illness, are you more likely to believe in ghosts and goblins and ghouls? Or do those things exist and interacting with them make you go crazy? I think most people who are into paranormal, I think most people who believe in conspiracy theories are into paranormal. Into dark stuff, they're not mentally ill. I think the majority of people who love really creepy true crime stuff or believe in chakra, I don't believe they're mentally ill. I think most of them are just real curious people. But we do have that crossover, and it is something that we can't ignore, which is really interesting.
Rather than Stuart, is it? Yes.
And then, like what Finley was saying about people with schizophrenic symptoms, we're actually doing an episode about. Someone sent it to me through the Dead Rabbit Radio Reddit, and let me pull it up here real quick. I'm not going to do the whole segment, but I do want to give this person a shout out. Very fascinating article, and it is. Come on, where'd you go, buddy?
We can actually only technically get 2 calls through.
I also went through a bunch of Max Kramer stuff. Gnome Sane 23 on the Dead Rabbit Radio Reddit sent me this article. There has never ever been anyone who was born blind who has schizophrenia.
No question about that. But Talking Heads.
They've studied this for decades. They've taken in like 500,000 people who, if you were born blind, you cannot get schizophrenia. They can't figure it out. They have and they've realized that people who do it, because now that they can find a group of people who don't have it, they can look at that group, and then they can start looking at people with vision problems early in life have a higher chance of being schizophrenic. So if you're having trouble balancing, if you're having trouble with your eyesight, your chances of schizophrenia are higher. They say if you go blind as an adult, your chances of schizophrenia are off the charts. But if you're born blind, you will never get. It's such a weird thing, and when we're talking about the brain, when we're talking about schizophrenia, we don't even understand that disease, let alone how it plays a part in hearing voices, seeing things from beyond the veil, stuff like that. It's just so interesting. And yeah, El Pato, thanks for joining us. And I think that's another thing. People who are into paranormal, it could be escapism from a boring life. Jonathan Bellrock, I believe, I asked too many questions, don't have answers. I think it does attract a lot of curious people. I think there's that, we talked about this before, if you're into the paranormal, it tends to start when you're young. right? When I was a kid, it was the Time Life books.
On our XFL
it was those journeys into mystery. We learned about Bigfoot, and I didn't like Bigfoot back then. I mean, I got all this Bigfoot merch now. Now I'm a little more intrigued.
Christmas Day,
like Bermuda Triangle, Roanoke. What happened? And the adults just like, we don't know. So you would read these books, and then you start to get into more arcane things as well. But I think it always starts off with that kind of beyond belief, fact or fiction, Leonard Nimoy doing his shows, that type of thing is what gets you in as a kid.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you in the new year, I guess. I don't think we're here on New Year's Day, but next year we'll be back with exactly the same show.
And like Chasley says, and so going off that, Chasley's talking about the obscure urban legends things. We all know about Bermuda Triangle, Mary Celeste. Those are great ways to like get interested in the subject. But at a certain point, I mean, you don't have the answer. You don't know what's causing the Bermuda Triangle thing. We have theories, but then it's, instead of spending so much time on that, I do like to cover the more weird of things. Tasmanian, happy Thanksgiving to you as well. I wanted to go back up here real quick because I didn't want to just shoot past this, and I did want to see that Finna Lane said their first episode their friend listened to was the one where the guy ejaculated out of his butthole. And you know what's funny? Since I did that episode, if you did that episode, you're like, what? I missed that one. Since I've done that episode, I got 2 emails from 2 people who listen to the show, and they go, oh, I know a guy who did that. It's not rare at all. The fact that I was able to release this episode, and within a week, I had 2 different people go, oh, no, my buddy. As their eyes go from side to side, they're like, yeah, my buddy. His name's the same as mine, but spelled backwards, and he lives in Canada. They both said, yeah, something happened. Like, one of them was, like, on a motocross bike. And then he was ejaculating out of his butthole. I think that guy was specifically pooping out of his penis. So it's not super rare. If you state a fact and 2 people stand up and go, oh, that happened to me, it's not rare at all. This comment up here, and I've kind of been following it a bit, but I wanted to take a look at this. From SK, how soon until the theories about the Waukesha parade start? That was where that guy drove that car through that parade. I'm honestly, like, obviously there's some like political conspiracy theories that have popped up, like what was his motive? Was this retaliation, for Kyle Rittenhouse and all that stuff? But that is one thing I'm thinking, and I think SK saying, how come we're not getting? That's a really good point, SK. Where are the weird conspiracy? Travis Scott, that took an hour before those conspiracy theories were out. An hour. And we're like on day 3. I look at my watch like that. It's been almost a couple days. At least a couple days. So that's an interesting one. I'm going to actually go look for that, SK. I'm going to put you down as a note there. But yeah, where is this was predictive programming. If you would watch, Ronin and it had the scene with the parade or yeah, you're right. It's super weird that no one's really, really pushing that. Nicole, thank you so much putting you down here. Also getting a ride, piloting the Carpenter copter. Thank you so much. Amazing. And Rudy Jazz, thank you. Rudy Jazz, mainstay on the Patreon Discord. I want to be more on. Yeah, Nicole, thank you again. That's so amazing. I want to be more on the Patreon Discord. I want to do a bunch of stuff. I've been thinking about trying to do like a movie night, because I always go, oh dude, what if we do like a movie night every Saturday night? And I'm like, there's no way. I don't know why I always try to do why I always go, I want to do a podcast, and it will be every single day. It would be cool to do like maybe a monthly movie night, right? That would be cool. But the problem is that I start movies and I watch 10 minutes of it and I'm like, I'm lame. I'll shut it off. And then I'll start another movie and watch 10 minutes. Like the other day when I saw Mope, I had watched 4 movies before I got to Mope. And Mope is one of my favorite movies. I love that movie now. But I watched like 4 movies before I got there. True, honest Will Smith, thank you for joining. Thank you for hanging out with us, and happy Thanksgiving to you as well. And the true, honest Will Smith's comment, this has been the worst year of their life. I've been hearing that from a lot of you guys. And that sucks, but I'm glad that this show, and that's what True Honest Will Smith is saying, is like, made this show. I thought he said, oh, but this show made things easier. He didn't say that, but hopefully it did. Hopefully it did. These past 2 years have been rough. What's funny, the other day I was talking to a friend. I haven't talked to her in a long time, my friend. And she started talking about COVID vaccines and COVID in general. And I thought, you know what's so funny? Early on, when that first started back in 2019, I was like, oh, I'm not going to. No, it started in like 2020, right? It started late 2019. I go, I'm not going to cover this stuff. It's kind of depressing. I did 2 episodes on it. One episode was like, it's all on one episode, I'm surprised YouTube hasn't taken down. But it was during the time that I was recording this episode, like in February of 2020, and I was like, it's fine. It was mostly because one person commented and go, this didn't age well, and I thought, well, it does, because I was actually calling out stuff like, I don't believe they're bolting people into the houses in China. All that video footage was coming out of China, like streets full of people flipping around on the ground, and I go, I don't think that's real. And I go, I think it's just going to blow over. Now, I was wrong on the second point, but on the first point, I do think that there was a lot of fake news going around there. But yeah, no, hopefully this year will be better. Cantillians, do you think more people are starting to believe more paranormal? You know, it's so funny. Cantillians, the other day, I was going to do an episode on this, I haven't yet. The other day, some real estate company, who's like coming up to Halloween, did a survey on how many people believe about the paranormal. And I was like, this can't, where did they get the sample size of middle school? Like, it was like 80% of the population in the United States believes in ghosts. And I go, that number is way too high. I think paranormal is one of those things that more people do believe in it than they say, but they get laughed at. If you tell people you believe in ghosts, there are people who will openly mock you for that. And nowadays you can say, I believe in UFOs, because that's becoming more mainstream, that UFOs and everything like that. But yeah, it's tough, because I think on one hand we're trying to be a more rational system. Well, it's funny because I grew up in growing up in the 80s, it was all over the place. We had the remnants of the hippies, we had the chakra movement, the New Age movement, when yoga was still considered satanic. And you had the astrology was a huge thing. You had that one with Shirley MacLaine, who was like a best-selling author and believed in reincarnation. It seems less so now than when I was a kid. It seems like paranormal belief is less mainstream now. Now it appears on channels like Gaia, which actually Demi Lovato, singer, actor, Demi Lovato, she's now doing paranormal research. She has a show on, like, I don't know, A&E or something like that. And I saw a headline, and it said, Demi Lovato aligns herself with conspiracy theory website. And I was like, what? Like, that's interesting, right? I totally want to see what this is. I clicked on it. She was giving shout out to Gaia. And as much as I joke around about Gaia, I would not classify them as a conspiracy theory website. I mean, if you think Atlantis is a conspiracy theory, then maybe, but that just seemed to be a way to kind of box her in and to make her sound like a lunatic. That's interesting. El Pato says maybe the concert, the Travis Scott concert, was predictive of the parade. You know what's funny is I need to get my buddy Earbud over here. I need to get him over here just to hang out with him. It's been a long time since we hung out, but I would love to like play a little clip for you, because I found like really weird footage from like the Travis Scott thing. There's like a monster. There's like a monster walking on the roof, but I can't show it to you. I have it. My friend in Canada sent it to me. Totally believe that it's true, but yeah, it was one of those videos. I'll put it. I'll talk about it on an episode, and we'll put it in the show notes. It's one of those videos that could easily be fake, right? But yeah, there still is weird stuff coming out of there. But yeah, I'm curious about why there isn't more. Yeah, an idea guy. And so an idea guy says, I have a Bigfoot alien theory. That's the one put in the chat. Dude, I'm even down for your guys' theories like that. Like, there have been people in the past like email it to me. Because you guys know I accept story ideas, but there have been other people who've been like, hey, I just have like this. I've covered them too. I can't think of one off the top. Oh, I can. The one guy who said, I think conspiracy theories are a way to send you insider trading. That was it. He sent me this theory. He sent me a little bit of proof. You know, like I've been talking to the guy for a while online, and he goes, this is what I believe, and these are the things I've done, and this is da-da-da-da-da. Signed, Dear George Soros. But no, and so I covered that. So if you do have like a really cool take on UFOs or Bigfoot or whatever, email it to me. I don't have a problem reading your guys' theories too, because I obviously don't know that. Jonathan recommends movie nights, but we only watch rom-coms. I could find some dope rom-coms, definitely. Does The Mask count as paranormal? I don't understand that comment, Zayla, but maybe some clarification. Let's see here. The entire export, thank you for that donation. You are also back on the Carbonacopter. Really, really appreciate it. Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed the show. Yeah, there's that weird line, because here's the thing, if you went to your job and you said, I believe in ghosts, people will go, what do you mean? Like, we believe in Casper, but the entire export is seeing a shift to spirituality. People don't make fun of your religion. They won't do it to your face, at least, right? If I said, hey guys, on the weekend I'm gonna go hunt Bigfoot and I'm gonna go walk around in the woods, actually that's pretty cool. People do like it because at least you're outdoors. Like, hey, I'm a guy and I'm gonna go hunt ghosts. I'm gonna go break into this house and do all this stuff. Don't make fun of me. But what just happened, right? I'm speaking from experience. But if you started telling, it's funny, the entire export down that you said that, is I will say that from time to time. I'll talk about stuff. I'll be like, I could sense their energy was kind of getting a little heightened, so I would just kind of pull myself away from the situation. That's not realistic. I mean, it's real. I understand what I'm saying, and I do think that people give off certain energy. So if someone asks, how come you didn't resolve that situation? That guy smashing all the laptop displays open. He was giving off a negative energy. Instead of being like, oh, I saw Benjamin Franklin's ghost warning me that something bad was going to happen. You can take paranormal beliefs and wrap them in the term spirituality, and people won't make fun of you, right? And so, I mean, don't take my word for it. Someone may still beat you up, but probably not. Yeah, Rabbitfish says the conspiracy scene has been different ever since everything on Earth became political. It is. When I was growing up, and I don't mean to keep playing the old man role, but I like being this age doing this show, because when I was growing up, conspiracy theories were almost all political. You didn't have stuff like you would have like a stabbing at the Rolling Stones concert, and that was just a stabbing at a Rolling Stones concert. We didn't have all this stuff about predictive programming because they didn't make it up back then. But you had tons of conspiracy theories about Ronald Reagan, about the Soviet Union, JFK, super political conspiracy theory. You had all of this stuff. I mean, you had Roswell, which was, again, something like the conspiracy theorists who believed JFK was killed by the mafia. They weren't really interested in little green men. You've seen that blade over now because, I guess I should say, of sites like Gaia, like YouTube. You have these communities that build up and they kind of have a shared interest. But before, like if you thought Ronald William Reagan was the Antichrist, because each of his names had 6 letters in it, you probably didn't believe in Bigfoot. Right, like that was your main focus. And that's actually an interesting question. I wonder what the Venn diagram is of fundamentalist religious people who believe the world's going to end, in this apocalyptic war between heaven and hell and, beating up angels, and who believe in other paranormal stuff. Because like my mom, for example, she believes in the Bible, but she doesn't believe in ghosts, she doesn't believe in Bigfoot, she doesn't believe in any of that stuff. So, yeah, but, there's stuff in the Bible. I mean, according to the Mormons, Bigfoot might have been in the Bible. There's stuff in the Bible that's weirder than anything we've talked about on the show. Hey, Charlotte, thanks for joining us here. Fenelline saying that, responding to Jonathan, people who used to be rational atheists are now wholesale into conspiracy theories. Conspiracy theories make sense of the nonsense the universe puts out that's super attractive. And what's super weird that I've noticed is people who are extreme will fly across the political spectrum. It's does not matter what the beliefs are. I've seen that happen. I've seen that happen personally. People who are extreme to the right, as things change and as they're perceiving information differently, they'll become super, like, leftist. And they'll do that and they'll do that for a period of time. Then they'll swap back, or, you know, it's weird. There's no in between. They don't, very rarely they go, I'm going to be moderate. So someone who is like atheist, someone who's like one of those people, and I don't know if these are your friends, but there are people who kind of like, that's their identity, that they're atheist. Not that, you know, they're a banker who has 3 kids and a nice home, and they just happen to also not believe God exists. People whose identity is wrapped up in a belief are far more likely to just go way over here. A lot of Q people, a lot of QAnon people started off as hippies. Started off from that New Age movement. That's that same age group. It's boomers. It's that same age group. They've gone from being like, oh, maybe it's weird. If you go to that, because I've talked about it on this show, that QAnonymous. Jonathan, thank you so much for the donation. I'll put this down and we'll get you in that Carbonacopter ASAP. When you go to that QAnon Casualties website that I talked about, that subreddit, so many of the people go, my mom used to be like a hippie. She used to have her own garden and she didn't eat genetically modified stuff, and now she believes in that John F. Kennedy Jr. is still alive. It's the weirdest thing. So you do see these big jumps back and forth. It's odd. Sorry, I'm just catching up here on these notes here. Just the guy says, more likely to believe in conspiracy stuff than a lot of people I know because I'm religious. I think that does open it. It does open that up. If you're secular, if you don't believe in any religion, I mean, the atheist is kind of, you will have people that flip-flop, but I mean, if someone didn't believe in the eternal war between good and evil, you'd have a really hard time convincing them. You'd have a really hard time convincing them that Hillary Clinton's eating babies. You'd be like, that's a huge stretch, because then you're like, no, it's this demonic chemical called adrenochrome, and they need, and you're like, what? So it does help. It does help to have, and I'm getting you back in the helicopter as well, Carbonacopter as well, where you think you get this donation. It does help to have that background, but it could also not be the best one. Tickus, thank you for joining us. Exilus, thank you for joining us as well. Yeah, I gotta look at. I think it'd be interesting to take a look at the. I think it'd be interesting to take a look at that Venn diagram between religion and how weird the beliefs get. I think that would be pretty interesting there. But it's not wholesale though either. I'm wondering how much of it they would actually leave with aliens as well. Because that's always been the concern. If aliens showed up tomorrow, what would it do to religion? Now Rudy Jazz just posted. They went to a Dark Outpost on stream last night. David Zublik looks ill. David Zublik is the host of Dark Outpost. I checked him out probably a week or two ago as well. Yeah, I mean, he has some telltale signs that he has issues. Yeah, he does. He has the red nose. He has the really kind of reddish, when all the blood vessels break in your nose type of look. He also reports bizarre content that he's in some dark corners. David Zublik is in some really weird dark corners of the internet, and I think mentally as well. Like, I wish him the best. I wish he was not reporting just nonsense. I had to stop watching him because some of this coverage he was doing was inappropriate. I felt like there is a line that you can draw when you're covering Pizzagate stuff, when you're covering child trafficking. He went too far. I think I discussed this on the Patreon Discord. I don't think I've ever discussed it here, so I might as well throw it out now. He will use images in his photo montages that are not images that I don't think should be used. I don't think they should be used, and I definitely don't want to see. Because if he's doing a story about child trafficking he'll take like a photo of a girl in like a Halloween costume and be like, look at this, like, it's just like it's just in a gross, you know what I mean? Like he's sexualizing children. I'll just come out and say it. Sometimes when he's trying to do these Pizzagate stories, his thumbnail will be a child dressed in a very provocative or sexualized way. When I'm saying child, I'm not saying 16-year-old. No, like super young. And it's gross. It's gross because you have to wonder, is he doing that because this is the age victim of these Pizzagate people, or is he doing that because he knows it's going to get more clicks? And it's the second one. And that's gross. I stopped going to it. He put up a thumbnail. I think it was Super Bowl. He goes, Super Bowl, there's more child trafficking during Super Bowl, which I've heard is accurate. There's more, I don't know necessarily child trafficking, but whenever you have these big global events, you have tons of people coming out. Thank you so much for the donation, Church Going Mule. Really appreciate that. He used a photo of like a young girl, and she was like wearing a like football jersey, but it was like, I don't have any, my gauge for that stuff is so low. Like, I don't want to see nothing. She can be wearing a parka and mittens, putting that photo of that unwilling girl. This is like a photo that he got offline and attached it to a story about child sex trafficking. Wearing what she was wearing, it was wrong. It was wrong. It was wrong. And I see him doing. I was like, nah. And I didn't stop going to his website for the longest time. And it was just the other day when I went back. Don't do that. Like, that actually is hurting the girl in the photo, right? And it's hurting your message. You lost a viewer. I mean, I was always making fun of it, but I was still clicking on his stuff. But yeah, and I've noticed that there are a lot of people who investigate stuff like Pizzagate that want to help children, and that's why they're doing it. But they also had that big bust. I didn't cover it on the show because, again, it was disgusting. But they had a big bust late last year on Reddit. Shocker, right? Reddit is such a cesspool. On Reddit, one of the leading Pizzagate QAnon subreddits, their mod, I mean, again, this isn't surprising anyone, because again, Reddit is a cesspool, but their mod was busted for downloading child. And the whole subreddit was to expose the pedophile elite. Like, that's the type of weirdos you get going on. Not all of them. There are a lot of people, there are people who put their life in danger trying to stop this stuff. They may be doing it on their own. Hats off to them. Thank you so much, Jonathan, for the donation. Yeah, it's just creepy. That's what Jonathan was saying. It's creepy, and it's like, that is something that I think that everyone believes in, to not be putting kids in harm's way unless you're a creepo. But you can be creepo adjacent, and that's where I don't want to see him be. I definitely don't want to see him be. The Masonic Quads, Church Going Mule donated $33.33. Jonathan called that out as Masonic Quad. You know, it'll be interesting. Rudy says, I feel bad for Zublik, though, never getting out of the rabbit hole. It's weird because you never know. He could have a total turnaround, and again, we see these people fly from one into the other. Not everyone. There are people who, I have a buddy who, ever since he was in high school, diehard socialist. Yeah, he's my age, and he's still like, he's never stopped being that. And there are people who the same way are just like patriot all the way. And I remember, you don't always have these shifts, but if you have someone on an extreme side, they very rarely go to the middle. It's the same thing. Like, I think I saw this on Bill Maher's documentary Religulous, which I saw when it came out. I was like, oh, this is the best documentary ever, dude. Because, you know, I'm religious, but you can make fun of it. We can have this discussion. And I watched it again a couple years ago, and I was like, it doesn't hold up that well. But I think it was Bill Maher who said, isn't it weird that whenever you have a Satan worshiper who leaves the church, he always becomes a fundamentalist Baptist? They never go from it. You never hear about a Satan worshiper who becomes Episcopalian or a Satan worshiper who becomes Mormon. It's always from one extreme to the other. Jason, this is from Jonathan. Jonathan's donation here. Jason, have you heard of that photog, Jordan Matter, who only takes images of tween? gross. Contortionist, and I have not heard of Jordan Matter. No. No. And you know, and the thing is, and everything he does seems really suspicious. Yeah. I would guess so. I would guess so. And this is one of those things where you start. The other day I was looking at that. Remember the gymnast, that Gary Nasser, I think it was Larry Nasser, and he sexually abused all those gymnasts. I don't want to talk about this much longer, but to answer that question, he had that horrible thing, and in an Olympic-sanctioned training center where you have all these professionals from around the world, people who are coming out to give their experience and their passion to these young children and make them better athletes, in a place that highly regulated, that had been open for years and years and years, and they were winning these Olympic medals, and these young women were becoming stars. In a place like that, you had a pedophile who operated for a decade or more. So, do I think in some guy's studio, where he's taking these pictures, is something bad happened? Like, legally, I can't say anything.